Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 91 of the Dynasty Junkies podcast. I am your host. I'm sorry, I almost forgot, a member of the Dynasty Addicts Podcast Network. I've noticed Andrew continues to keep forgetting that and then throws it in at the end of the show. But we always, have to rip on the guy who's not here, right?
Blame whoever's here, so that works.
Yeah. But yes, episode 91. I am your host, Rocky Bacella at Dynasty FF Addict, as you just heard there. Back here with Scott Sidlow this week. Scott, how you doing?
Dude, back-to-back nights with you. This is crazy. I don't know what's happening. I'm living in an alternate universe, man.
Yeah, that was a fun one last night, though. Anybody out there listening, Dynasty Fever, nice podcast we were on yesterday. Jesse and Brian, two great hosts on there. We were on with the guys from Warzone, Jerry and Memphis. Go check that out too. But tonight we have a great guest with us. We're going to be doing a Superflex tight end premium rookie mock here pre-draft, and we brought on one of the best rookie guys out there. I'm going to say it's Mike Bauer. Mike, how you doing?
First of all, you're being way too kind with the intro, but thank you. Happy to be here. And I think we were not live last time I was on, right?
Yeah, no, I think we started that last summer and you were on, I think, last spring.
Yeah, tell me this stuff so I could say no when I know that we're going to be live. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks for having me. Yeah, let's talk some rookies, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. We have, we've been kind of mixing in the rookie stuff here and there as we've been going along. We didn't want to be, there's a lot of pods like Mike's that are doing tons of rookie stuff and they're smarter about it than we are. So we didn't want to overload people because they're getting that everywhere. But April, I think we're going to be, with the draft coming up, going to pile on the rookie content a little more here. So this week we are doing a Superflex PPR tight end premium pre-draft rookie mock. So we'll get right into it. Maybe if we start quickly and don't do other stuff, we can finish them under 145. What do you think, Scott?
No chance.
I do want to say one thing. I think it's funny that the host of the show gave himself the 1-1.
That is true. I did.
Just throwing that out there.
I did think that was a little weird. So
I didn't want to make it. I wanted to make it a little more. I told you guys in the chat that Mike, you and Scott are the smart ones. So I'm going to take the easy 101 pick, and then we'll go from there. So, and at 101, well, let's just get started. I'm going to take Breece Hall. It is super flex, but I don't love any of these quarterbacks, as a lot of people don't. I know the guy that's going to come up very soon. He would be my QB1, but Breece is the safest prospect and also has one of the highest ceilings. He had that great college production, great vision, great patience behind the line. He's not a Kamara in the receiving game, but he's certainly fine there as well. So it was a pretty easy choice for me to go with Breece Hall.
Yeah, I don't think there's any argument there. There's not even really much to talk about at this point until we get a landing spot and we can plug it in. It just seems to make the most sense. I'm currently in another actual rookie draft right now, and he was the 101 as well. So I think that makes sense. So I was up at 102. This is a quarterback podcast as long as I'm on it. So Rocky be damned. I just went ahead with Malik Willis at this point. I don't necessarily like him. I don't necessarily know if he's going to be great. I don't have a model. I don't watch all that much film. I don't have any reason why I took him other than the fact that we know what his potential could be. We've heard about these things. If you listen to guys like, Dynasty Rewind and all of our friends that we listen to, we know that he could be one of those real risky prospects, but I feel like if you have the 102 pick and you earn that 102 pick, you could probably wait for a year or two if it ends up like a Treylon situation where he sits for a year type of situation. So, a Pittsburgh, Atlanta, something like that makes sense. You're probably not competing this year anyway. So I'm going to go with the upside.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing with Malik Willis is that upside. He's got. What are your thoughts on Willis, Mike? Before you get into your 103 pick, I do watch some film, and he's definitely got a lot of work to do in the passing game. But I feel like you got to take him here just because of the ceiling.
I agree and disagree with everything that you guys are saying. I know you can be both, right? We can swing both ways. I like Malik Willis, highest ceiling of the quarterback room in this class. He could also very well have the lowest floor. if you follow me on Twitter, I apologize for me tagging the Eagles and tweeting a picture of Kenny Pickett every day. Just trying to let them know what I prefer. But don't worry, I have a backup tweet already set to go in case it doesn't
I
happen.
prefer Bryce Young or CJ Stroud next year.
I have news for everybody. For the record, the 2023 quarterback class is not as good as people are making it out to be. It is really, really, really top heavy, just like this class. And then it tapers off after that. Now, a lot can happen over the next college football season, so we'll see. But back to Malik Willis, I like him a lot. High ceiling, floor could be devastatingly low. I think, unfortunately, and it's true, being a black quarterback, he gets pegged as a running quarterback, which is not the case. He does look to pass first. His arm is pretty good. When people say, oh, the competition, let's not forget he was recruited to play at Auburn. So, he does have some good pedigree there. Well, he couldn't get on the field at Auburn. Bo Nix was okay. He was good enough. Coaches tend to stick with their guys. Scott, I wouldn't take Malik Willis here because some of the things you said, I don't like him, but I kind of feel like I have to. You're 102, you could wait. Or you could take my pick. 103, I took Garrett Wilson. I thought he was going to be gone at the 103, to be completely honest with you. He is my wide receiver 1 in this class. He does everything really he's a top-notch wide receiver. And the thing is, like, this class, wide receiver, as Nate said on the Dynasty Rewind, wide receiver is the cream of the crop in this class, for sure. You can get wide receivers in every single round that are going to be somewhat fantasy relevant. So I don't want to be forced into taking a quarterback because it's a super flex draft. Superflex does not mean 2 quarterback, and I feel like people forget that. Superflex means exactly that. Superflex could be anything. Let's not forget, everybody, you can flex tight ends too, and this is tight end premium. And yet I think
Who does that, Rocky?
Mike sounds like my kind of guy.
Oh my God, this is gonna be a long night.
It is going to be a long night.
He's an Eagles fan. He's not overvaluing quarterbacks. I love it.
You can't overvalue quarterbacks. You just can't. And actually, looking at it, for a tight end premium draft, I don't want to spoil it, but it turned out differently than I expected. But Garrett Wilson, definitely a guy that, if some people took him at the 1-1, depending on landing spot in a month or so, I'm not going to blame them for that either. Also, have you guys noticed it seems cool to hate Treylon Burks now?
Very cool. Very cool. Yep.
What's the deal with that? Why are we?
I don't know. Is it the combine? Maybe I don't put a ton of stock into the combine. I know he didn't test as well as everybody was expecting.
Yeah, but I have no qualms about Treylon Burks either. When we get to him, his blocking's a little suspect, but that's about it. That could be coached, though, so I'm not too worried about that.
Okay.
Before you pick, Rocky, I will just say I'm in a real rookie draft right now, and I had the 104, and Garrett Wilson was there, and when I saw the pick come in at 103, I didn't even think, I didn't look, which is crazy because I normally would be trading or doing something. I just smashed Garrett Wilson. Didn't even think, and that was the 104. So
who did it for you?
It went Hall, Walker, Willis.
Okay.
But yeah, for me, this personally would be the top 3 picks in some order, and I think it's sort of a tea break. Willis for the upside, and then I think Wilson and Hall are probably the guys with the highest floor and highest ceilings at their position. Maybe not the highest for Wilson, but high enough that those two kind of have to be in the top 3 picks there, even in Superflex. It sounds like you're on board with that, Mike.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay, so at 1,
Rocky, I'm sorry. Can I just say something right now? Your background, it looks like my parents' living room.
You mean grandparents? But
no, my parents' living room, man. I'm like, oh my God, just looking at the picture and then like the little candelabra things on the wall.
That's my wife. This is my basement, man. I just record from my basement. I don't have the nice background Super Bowl champs. And
is that a floral pattern couch too, by the way?
No doubt, you know it.
Kinda, yeah.
Oh, this is going great for me. This is fantastic.
Oh man, I don't usually have people. I always, it does bug me. I'm still always sitting on my basement couch doing the podcast, and no one ever really calls me out on it. Thanks, Mike.
Sorry, Rocky. I had to, man.
Okay, so we're at 104, and this is not necessarily my 4th favorite guy in this class, but I know everybody else loves him. And rookie drafts are mostly about purely dynasty value. In startups, we weigh in production and things like that. There obviously is no production, so I'm mostly just looking at the value. and everyone loves Kenneth Walker. So I'm taking him at the 104. I do like him. Not that I don't like him. I actually, even though I think everybody else hates him, I still have Isaiah Spiller as my RB2, and Brees is my RB1. So I do think that, I know I've watched the film. I know that he can catch the ball and he looks okay doing it, but it's still a red flag for me that two different schools never throw him the ball, even if those teams aren't heavy with the running backs in the passing game. So, I mean, it worries me in the sense that the NFL, are they going to, we've never seen you do it. Are we going to have you do it? So we've seen guys do it, but that's a big red flag for me. It's why I knock him down a little bit, but I'm taking him at the 104 because I know everybody else loves him, and even if I don't want to hold on to him, I can trade him to somebody else. If we were in an actual draft, I might trade down from the 104 here, but as it is, I will take Kenneth Walker.
Keep in mind, they never threw the ball to Jonathan Taylor at Wisconsin either, but
I think he had more than 13 catches for his career, though.
True. Well, Kenneth Walker also played for Wake Forest when they were a complete shit show still. And I mean, look at a guy like Hassan Haskins from Michigan and Kenneth Walker. These are just two offenses that they just don't throw to the running backs. So this is where watching guys at combine drills, see what they could do. I understand that it's not in pads or anything like that, but I want to see, can they run the routes? Can they turn? Can they secure the ball? Are they hands catchers? What is their body positioning like? What is their body language like when they're running these drills too? So I know that the combine, aka the Underwear Olympics, they take a lot of stock out of that. But there's certain things, if you haven't seen a guy do it, can he do it here? At least show us something. So I'm not concerned about Kenneth Walker.
I get that, but my concern too is, I mean, we've seen guys who have shown the ability to catch the ball not get the opportunity to do it in the pros. So now you got to have a guy who hasn't shown the ability in games, get to the right team that is even willing to throw him the ball, and then get that kind of passing work. That's just the concern for me.
And hey, that's why landing spot is important.
Yes.
People always say talent over opportunity, but if he goes somewhere where they just don't throw it to the running backs, you have to adjust. And a month from now, honestly, this draft could be completely different.
I think this draft is going to be so landing spot dependent for a lot of guys.
We should do this again after the draft.
I was going to mention that
changes.
I think we are going to do it after the draft.
Right.
I don't know who might be on, but
I just invited myself back for it. So
there you go. You're on in May. Okay, Skye, you're up at the 105.
Okay, so at this point, I would have been happy to take Walker as well. There's not, until we get landing spots, until we see draft capital, I'll wait on the quarterbacks. I debated here Treylon Burks or Drake London. I like both of them, and depending on who I take higher will probably be where they land and what offense and how I think they're going to be used. And, I just saw Drake London absolutely smash last year, and it was amazing to watch. And I love those big X receivers, man. So I went ahead with Drake London at 105. I'm just an X receiver guy, man. I just like those big guys go up and get the ball. I mean, the guy had literally like 8 catches a game. Like, it was just wild. Just monster season in that offense.
11 catches a game.
11 catches a game, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just crazy numbers. And it's cool. It's college, whatever. That offense isn't going to be in the NFL, I understand. But just seeing what he could do, I feel like it'll translate enough. Even if the separation isn't quite there, he could still make plays. And he's going to be one of those guys. He could be an 80 catch guy. So I'll take him there, 105.
And London, I think, for me, is a guy I'm not going to end up with in any rookie drafts. I am part of that that London doesn't get enough separation narrative. It just scares me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and what do you think, Mike?
Pittman was the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, too. A lot of it could be the offense that he's running right now. I think a lot of it, too, could be quarterback play. I'm not a Keaton Slovis guy. But I'm curious to see what he does after transferring to Pitt. Does he have kind of a reascendance? If that's not a word, it is now.
Yeah, it is.
Well, all right, perfect.
That's our Rocky. Write that down.
Reascendance.
That is the show title. Thank you very much.
Love it. I've seen him separate. I think he's fast enough, and if he's in a good enough scheme, A lot of times you could scheme players open. It's also imperative that a quarterback throws a wide receiver open. These are all important things. I like Drake London. I'm not as high on Drake London as other guys are. So honestly, doing this mock with you guys was great because stuff kept falling to me that I was not expecting. So my pick was Treylon Burks at the 1-6. A lot of people have him as their wide receiver 1 still. It's still Garrett Wilson is my wide receiver 1. But man, Treylon Burks is special. He reminds me of CeeDee Lamb watching him play. Just his body movements, the way he goes up and grabs the ball. I want to see a little bit more physicality from him, though. I know people are always like, why do you care about blocking so much? Because it gets you on the field. Coaches like when you do what you're supposed to do. That's why. I like Treylon Burks. And, man, at the 1-6, that's value for sure.
Yeah, and just going back to London, it scares me when one of a guy's best traits is contested catches. That's not what I want to hear is your best trait. But
it's my best trait, so I gotta stick with my guys.
But yeah, I the Burks pick is really good value at 106, and I
would agree.
He made a lot of great catches, and I also think he's really good after the catch, not even just like he breaks off long touchdowns or anything like that. He'll take a 3-yard pass and turn it into a 15-yard pass. Not always, like you said, he can be a little more physical, but sometimes just with his body movement and things like that, he'll gain those extra yards. So I guess that brings it back to me at 107. And I am going with Alabama's Jamison Williams. I love this guy. If it wasn't for the injury, I'd have him even higher than this. I probably would have taken him at 104. He's just an electrifying player. He's got the speed, but he's more than a speed guy. He just had a ridiculous season last year. And again, if it wasn't for the ACL, you're going to have to probably wait on him a little bit. He might not be ready to start the season. I haven't heard much either way on that, but it sounds like he's going to get first-round draft capital despite that. So I'm all in on Jamison Williams. I love watching the guy play. I mean, he is like a couple of times you see him do that sick double move where he just runs right past the guy after faking him out to the sideline. So give me some Jamison Williams.
I love that pick. I did love that pick there a lot. I mean, 1-7, it's fantastic.
And we're at 1-7 in a Superflex draft and only one quarterback. That tells you a lot about this class.
Yeah, right. Well, and I agree. And I thought actually I for sure was just ready to type in Jamison Williams until you did. So yeah, that's I'm totally good with that. I know John McGlynn loves him some Jamison Williams. So he loves him some Jamison and he loves him some Jamison Williams. So look at that. So at 108, I decided not enough quarterbacks have gone off the board. I like Kenny Pickett enough. He's older. That's not good. Typically, he maybe doesn't have the upside. We hear a lot of comps to like a Derek Carr type, whatever. And you know how much I love hating Derek Carr. And so I'm not thrilled about it, but it's like, if you're one of those middling teams where you have 108, that's not changing the game for you, but maybe you can flip him or package him to get to somewhere you want to be. If he comes in and gets a chance, what if Carolina takes him and then he has a chance to beat out Bradford? Then you maybe is like a Mac Jones type season where you can,
Did you just call Sam Darnold Sam Bradford?
I think.
Oh God, yes, I did. Same difference, really. I mean,
Sam Bradford is probably still getting paid by.
I know.
Oh my God, good for him. Good for him.
Man.
Was he the last one before the rookie pay scale?
I think so. I think he was the last guy that got paid a ridiculous amount of money.
He's probably the reason why.
Regardless, Carolina needs someone. Bradford, Darnold, Slasher, Sam, whatever, it doesn't matter. But Kenny Pickett probably beat out any of them at this point. Again, don't love him, but hey, if he can Mac Jones it and I can flip him for something else or even a 23 first and take a shot at that class, I'd probably do that.
He's got those tiny hands, though.
Just like Joe Burrow.
That's true.
Yeah, right.
Even smaller, though. But yeah, I think he is the most pro-ready guy, as a lot of people are saying. So
sure.
I think that's a solid pick at 107. So Mike's up at 108. I'm sorry, that was 108. We're at 109.
Yeah, so again, the draft keeps coming to me. And honestly, I would have taken Kenny Pickett at this pick had he been here Huge Kenny Pickett fan, as we all are aware of. But Isaiah Spiller falls to me at the 109. Honestly, I thought about him at my last pick, but I'm just thinking, like, do I want who I think could be a wide receiver 1 in a couple years, or the reality of the fact is, I don't know if that made any sense. The reality of the fact is running backs could be out of the league in a couple years. At one point in time, Todd Gurley was the highest paid player in the NFL. I think now he's on the street. And so it's amazing how fast things change. We've seen guys get just taken off the practice squad, thrown in the lineups, and then they have a couple good weeks and they're gone again. But still, that being said, the way that this round went, I got the guy I wanted at the back part of this round. We'll get to him. Isaiah Spiller. Rocky, he's your running back too. He's my running back too as well. I think he's fantastic. Good contact balance. He's got great speed. This dude can catch the ball if you want a guy to catch the ball. He can block like a mofo too. They even put him out there at fullback sometimes. I saw him lined out wide. For whatever reason, I would love if Isaiah Spiller went to Buffalo. That's kind of like my dream destination. I don't know why. It's something I was thinking of.
He'll fall because people will think CJ Spiller, and then he'll just fall, and then we'll all take him at 109.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. I like Isaiah Spiller a lot. Shifty, quick.
I have that exact word down in my rookie notes. Is shifty. I love him in the open field. He makes people miss. He can break some tackles. Anything else you want to say before I go on to my pick, Michael?
The other thing is, if I think a lot of people have the same concerns you do about Kenneth Walker. If that's the case, then you should be valuing a guy who can catch the ball and is a very natural receiver like Isaiah Spiller. He should be above Kenneth Walker. So, this is when I start to question people's processes. I'm not questioning Scott. If you like Kenneth Walker better, you like him better. But there's a lot of people that they just subscribe to the Twitter echo chamber and they're like, oh, well, this guy's better because of this. And I saw this guy say it and this mock draft did it, so I like him. Well, what research did you do? If you want to be successful, mock drafts help because you can see how values change daily and weekly and monthly or whatever. Do your own research. It's really important. Of course, listen to podcasts like this. You can listen to my podcast if you want. The flag's behind me. But you have to get your eyes on these people too. If you're an analytics guy, crunch the numbers however you do it. Personally, I'm a film guy because to me, numbers lie, but the tape doesn't. You can play or you can't. So, and it's okay to admit you're wrong too. I do it all the time. I'm married. I admit I'm wrong every single day.
It's a daily process.
It really is. I'm apologizing to a toddler more times often than not. It's like, I'm sorry. Sorry, you said Apple Gax, not Cheerios. Sorry, sweetie.
I will say for the record, my Dynasty Rewind Campus to Canton League, my logo is Texas A&M CJ Spiller, or Isaiah Spiller, because he was my first pick.
I think Scott's rewinding
I like
2012 or something tonight. I did CJ Spiller and Sam Bradford, and
I live in the past, brother.
Yeah,
so many hopes for CJ Spiller too.
But yeah, Mike sniped me with Isaiah Spiller there. Like I said, I took Walker earlier for the value, and I would love me some Jamison Williams. I thought Spiller would last to me at the 110, but he did not. So I took quarterback Matt Corral. He's actually, I mean, Malik Willis is my QB1 just because of the value, because of the ceiling. But in terms of when I watched the guys on film, the guy actually scored the best was Matt Corral. He was my favorite of the quarterbacks. He's fun to watch. He's got a great deep ball. I think he's got, pretty accurate, nice touch on it, which I think is an underrated skill and can definitely help your fantasy points. He's definitely mobile. He does. He's a little reckless with his mobility, which is an issue. He's got to clean that up. Yeah, in the pros. It takes too many hits, but yeah, and I don't think he's reckless. He did have some interception problems earlier in his career, but he looked like he kind of cleaned that up his last year there. But he's thrown into some tight windows, not too reckless, and he doesn't have a cannon for an arm, but it's solid enough. So Matt Corral's my guy here, 110. Also, just one quick note on that. Yeah, the dude takes way too many shots to the head. I mean, he needs to learn how to slide. He needs to learn how to get out of bounds because he is not going to last as a quarterback in the NFL just taking shots like that over and over again. Like there are times I'm watching film and I see him and it's like play after play and I'm just like, ooh, get this guy out of there, dude. What are you doing? So
I don't know.
Yeah. Matt Corral was my second pick in that Dynasty Rewind Campus Canton League, so I will be rooting for him regardless.
Yeah, I'm
because
hoping
he's
he
now
gets
on my
that
NFL
first round
roster.
draft capital too, though. If he's some, it seems like he's kind of on the edge of first, second.
Yeah.
If he flips
I
to the
agree.
second, I'm going to be
He's
a little
probably
worried.
a second. He's probably a second, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. Yeah, so the next pick, I have kind of a handful of guys here at 111 that, you know, like we talked about earlier this year, we felt like at the end of the first, early second, we'd be looking at a lot of receivers at this value. And, you know, I didn't have an Ohio State receiver yet, so I just went ahead with him over Penn State just so I can just shut up the haters for a little bit. But yeah, really, it was either way. I could have wrote down Dodson or Olave. I just put Olave. It made no difference to me. I knew, honestly, that Bauer was a Penn State guy, so I just want to give him that opportunity to talk about his man.
All right, well, I'm just going to do it now. So I took Jahan Dotson at the 112, and honestly, I would have been happy had I gotten Chris Olave, had I gotten Jahan Dotson. I'm happy either way. Love Jahan Dotson, though. People question his like physicality, but he doesn't need to be physical because he's always open. I mean, this guy was the reason that they won as many games as they did because Sean Clifford was not helping them win any games.
Oh, he's terrible.
Oh, I hate Sean Clifford. By the way, I really hate that he came back for a sixth year.
Get rid of it
out of Happy Valley. Like get him out of here, man. I cannot stand Sean Clifford. But I think when they start losing to a Big Ten team, you'll see Drew Allard come in and he'll take the job from there. Please. Listen, Jahan Dotson, fantastic guy, fantastic receiver. Grew up 20 minutes from my house. So I kind of known of him for a number of years now. I saw him play in person this past season against Maryland, and he went absolutely bonkers on the Maryland defense. The defense is in quotey fingers because they don't play very good defense down there in Maryland. But Chris Olave is a guy I like too. And I saw a lot of mocks for him going to the Eagles, and I would love if Chris Olave went to the Eagles, to be completely honest. I know you'd love that too, man.
I'm not as high on Chris Olave as some, but he'd be fine.
Well, would you rather see Chris Olave or Jalen Reagor out there?
Oh, I would rather see Chris Olave. I'd rather see you out there than Jalen Reagor, Mike.
No, you wouldn't. I guarantee you would not.
Okay, maybe Sidler. Sidler's got the height at least. So
I got contested catches.
Yeah,
no separation.
Okay, so that finishes up our first round. I'll run through the guys real fast, and then I'll give my 201 pick. Breece Hall at the 101, Willis at 2, Garrett Wilson at 3, Kenneth Walker at 4, Drake London 5, Treylon Burks 6, Jamison Williams 107, Kenny Pickett, the second quarterback, comes in at 108, Isaiah Spiller 109, praying for first round draft capital, Matt Corral at 110, and Chris Olave and Jahan Dotson round us out for the first round. And that brings us to me at 201. This is another guy I just kind of loved watching him on tape. Christian Watson, kind of like Jamison Williams. They're very different receivers, but both of them kind of excited me. Christian Watson, like every time I watched one of his games, he seemed to make one wow play every game. He's definitely raw. He's a big guy, but I think he gets a little more separation than what I saw from Drake London. But he's also playing at a much lower level, so we have to factor that in. But he
Pac-12 defense,
yeah. So, I guess you may be right, Scott. Maybe it's not that much lower, but he's got a great size speed combo. Watson does. And he's got a lot of good moves after the catch. He made a lot of. They would use him on end around sometimes, and he'd pick up a bunch of yards, occasionally going for long touchdowns. Like I said, raw. I think he doesn't have the most diverse route tree, it looked like to me, and it was a little rough running some of his routes as well. But hopefully that can be coached up. I love the talent there, and I'm hearing a lot from what I'm seeing that there's a chance he could go in the first, and I think it's a lock he goes in the second. So it's going to have decent draft capital. So hopefully Watson to like the Packers or something, and this will be a value pick here.
Man, they don't need Christian Watson out there, right?
No, who needs receivers?
No.
Yeah,
Who's that guy they have in the slot? He's 43. He's the oldest wide receiver.
Randall Cobb.
Randall Cobb.
Randall Cobb.
Yeah,
They got
Kentucky
Amari
quarterback Randall Cobb. Yeah, got it. Okay.
They got Amari Rodgers.
Yeah. Loaded, baby.
Yeah. I like the Christian Watson pick, though, to be honest with you. I see a lot of people taking him in the first round, but I think second round is a much better spot for him.
Yeah, I think he fits in real well where I have him here. He's in the group with a bunch of these guys here. They're going to. I'd like some of these guys that also went around here, including who Scott's going to take next.
I'm just going to tell you that this second round, and it doesn't take any genius to figure this out, is going to have some massive variance. Like, you are going to see players taken at 201 that are like 210 in other drafts. I mean, it's just going to be, it's wide open. Just go pick the guy you want. I mean,
from now to a month from now, the landing spot is going to matter so much for a lot of these.
It will. It'll matter more than it has in quite a while. And a lot for me, there was about 4 players or so in this next tier. Watson being one of them. Pretty much the next 4 picks, maybe the next 5, depending. But really, the next 4 picks, they went all right in a row. I went ahead with Skye Moore at 202. I don't know how much of him I'll actually have in real drafts, so I thought this was an opportunity to take him. But honestly, no, I do like him. I like his game, and I feel like, again, in the second round, you can't go wrong, right? I mean, you take a shot and you see what happens. Your hit rate's going to be lower in the second round anyway, so pick the player you want. You want to go running back, fine. You want to take a quarterback, fine. Whatever. The second round's just going to be wide open. So I just went with a guy I liked, Skye Moore.
Scott, like what you were saying here, we could do, the 3 of us could do this exact same mock draft 10 times, and we could have 10 different second rounds.
Yeah, definitely.
And none of them would be wrong. Because, I think the first round, we kind of know who our first round guys are here. That's pretty cut and dry at this point. But the second round, so I took Rachaad White at the 2-3, and I like Rachaad White. I don't love Rachaad White. I think Rachaad White is super average, but at the Senior Bowl, he showed that he can really catch the ball, and he was one of the best players on the field at the Senior Bowl. A lot of people like to knock Senior Bowl players. Rachaad White, I believe he was recruited. I can't remember where exactly, but he was not academically eligible. Believe, if my story is correct. So went to JUCO for 2 years, went to Arizona State. He played some pretty good ball. I mean, he's a pretty average guy, but he does everything well enough where I think there could be a team that falls in love with him. And he's 6'2", 210 pounds. So the dude's a mauler in between the tackles. So at 2-3, he's probably one of the last guys that I could see being a quote-unquote third down back in this class. The rest of the running backs after this are probably going to be committee backs.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Agreed.
Yep.
And I'm with you on Rachaad White. I get the appeal of him, and I do like him, but I think he's definitely kind of what Zach Reed calls a pass catcher plus. He definitely has that PPR upside, and if the starter, he's probably the 1B at best to somebody. The starter goes down, he can maybe pop for a few weeks for you.
For sure.
But so that brings to the 204, and another guy I really like in this class. His stock has kind of fallen from, I think, earlier in the process. That's David Bell. He's just a great route runner. I see him getting a lot of separation just from his body movement, the way he uses shoulder shake or his footwork to kind of get himself open. We know he doesn't have the speed. We knew that watching on tape, and then he proved it at the combine. And but he produced a lot, and I just think he's a guy that's gonna he's not gonna have the ceiling of some of these guys that went in the first round, but he's a guy I think that's gonna be in the league for years and years. Pile up some receptions, get himself open, and be a solid fantasy asset. And I'm fine getting that at the 204.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm probably never going to have a David Bell share.
I like David Bell.
I knew that was coming.
And there's other guys that I think you can get later in the draft that will be exactly the same in both the NFL and fantasy that David Bell will be. I'm just going to throw a couple names at you guys real quick, because I think it's important to know about. Well, if you don't like this guy, who are some guys that you like? Danny Gray from SMU is a guy. I just scouted him. He's great. Eric Ezukanama. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yes.
Tech.
Yes.
Love what he does on the field.
Yes.
I would rather have Jalen Tolbert over David Bell.
The David Bell slander here, man.
The
Yeah,
David Bell slander is real. And when people talk about stats, that's because Purdue is always down by 50 points. So all they do is throw the ball. It's
or
important.
don't.
It's important to note that. Joe Ngata from Clemson, I like a little bit too. Let's see here. I had somebody else queued up, and I don't know where I put him. Khalil Shakir from Boise State.
Yeah,
Probably give you some similar production as well. And if you want a really late round dart throw, Amika Emeze from NC State. He's another big body, go down the field and get it type guy, but you can probably get him as a UDFA. I think some of these guys are going to really give you the same production as David Bell, and you could take a lot of other people at the 2-4. Rocky, not to crap all over your pick.
As you just did.
just to let people know there are options outside of the first round in this draft. It's all about how you scout. Make sure you print out who got drafted and look these guys up afterwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm going to respectfully disagree, Mike.
Hey, look, and that's what makes this game of fantasy football great. We all have different processes. None of them are wrong, because the likelihood is, in a 12-team league, none of us could win. So, you know what I mean? There's only one person who can win. Well, Scott's going to tell you that he's going to win, so I know it's coming.
Correct.
There you go. See?
Okay, and here's why. No, actually, listen to the Rookie Fever episode with at All-Purpose Scout Jason DiRienzo. Just listen to that. He talks about David Bell. He has a way. Here's the thing, and I've said this many times before.
Wait, are you about to crap on my pick too, Scott?
I'm not a film guy. I don't have like some model that I plug into. I use a little bit of everything. I use Matt Waldman. I use my resources, okay? And I put it all together. But the one position that I watch, first of all, if it's Big Ten, I've seen all the games. I've seen all the players. I watched them probably live, okay? So I've been watching them for years. I think David Bell was kind of misused in that offense. I cannot communicate why I like David Bell, but I love David Bell, and I would have taken him with my next pick. I don't know.
Scott.
I completely agree, though, with everything Mike just said about these other guys having same production and all that. I totally get it. They're 100%. I will probably have 25 shares of David Bell. I'll probably be completely wrong, but for whatever reason, when I watch it, when I see it, like when I see him, it's just different. I just see it with him.
Dude just always gets open.
He's not special in any way, but then he is. Like, I don't.
Scott, I have a message for you. I'm told to tell you that David Bell's ass.
Well, now we need to know who that's from.
I mean, I am quite sure that he's never going to do anything in the NFL because of how much I like him. So, I mean, it makes sense. But again, I can't give you any substantive evidence of why. So don't listen to me. I'm just telling you, this is my opinion for me, but don't do that because I said to, because I'm not, because actually Rocky told you to, not me. Just to be clear.
Yes, I told you to. Scott's wrong.
Okay. So now that we've talked about a guy who's completely irrelevant, will never even play in the NFL for 25 minutes. Let's get on to pick 205. This guy, I don't really like him. I don't hate him. I actually thought he's a little bad. Everybody's been kind of shitting on this guy too, and I don't think he was that bad, but I don't think he's a top tier prospect either. But now you're starting to see a lot of this. Maybe he slides into the first round, and his name is Desmond Ritter. I watched him in some of the big games. Didn't think he looked that great. He did have a couple good throws here and there. There's a couple good clips out there where he just puts the ball in a spot that's amazing. I mean, but I don't know. Like, you're a quarterback. You throw a lot of passes. Aren't some of them going to be good? Like, I mean, they're not all going to be bad, right? So I don't know that. Like, when I watch him, I don't think like, oh, this guy's going to light up the NFL, or like, oh, this guy's a first round pick. I don't watch him and go, oh, he'd never play. Right? You know, he's just one of those like, okay, whatever. But again, here we are in the second round. Honestly, just for the sake of the mock, I did this. I took a couple of these type players here that we're going to talk about because I relate it to the last few years. My strategy has been like in the third and fourth round. I was just splitting up my picks between like Kyle Trash and Kellen Mond and Davis Mills. And then I end up with 11 shares of Davis Mills, and now he's a starter. And now I've been able to trade him and get my profit and all this, and it cost me nothing. What is a third-round pick worth? Nobody cares about third-round picks, right? And so I know we're in the middle of the second, so it's not the exact comparison, but I just wanted to be able to say that as a portfolio player, I made a nice profit with that strategy, specifically last year, and it's worked out well for me in the past. And so any of these guys that are like, as long as these quarterbacks are at least day 2 picks, I'll probably throw a shot at them, and we'll just see what happens. You know, like whatever. If it hits, I'm profiting, and if it doesn't hit, like maybe he's a backup or something, you can always use those guys.
Well, I will say there's a lot of talk of Ritter going in the first round, which
to
me is crazy. And if he does, you have to pick him here or earlier if he goes in the first round. But I don't see it either. I do not like Ritter even a little bit. He, to me, is a poor man's Zach Wilson. And you know how I feel about Zach Wilson. He's got some mobility.
Oh, wow.
He's got some mobility, but he is not.
We better apologize to Mr. Ritter's mother, because that's like the worst.
That's like the biggest insult I can give.
Really.
I mean, it reminded me a lot because he would throw like, it seemed to me like Cincinnati did a decent job of scheming guys open, and then he would throw it inaccurately to those guys. Like even when they caught it, they'd be reaching behind them, they'd be jumping, for high balls. I don't like Ritter even a little bit. I know he's getting a lot more hype. I think probably because, again, the combine, which I tend to not weigh as much. And I know he tested well there, even while we all knew he was athletic and can run. But I think you have to take him if he gets decent capital somewhere in the second round. But I just probably won't be doing it.
I don't think Desmond Ritter is as athletic as people think he is, or as good of a runner. He's very good at throwing on the run, I'll say that. I also don't think he's as bad as people think he is. What he needs is to go somewhere to develop for a year, 2 max, good coaching. I think Atlanta would be the perfect spot for Desmond Ritter. They have Marcus Mariota there.
There you go. Yeah.
But my problem with Desmond Ritter is he's wildly inconsistent. And I think a lot of it is mechanics. We all know they don't really teach stuff like that in college. They're there to win football games. You know what I mean? They don't give a you know what. Jalen Samuels once said, "I never learned how to pass block in college." Well, see, the problem I have is I understand that they don't teach these guys, but if you want to win games, you need technically sound guys on the football field. I'm sure some programs do. That being said, I'm okay with Desmond Ritter here. I don't hate him as much as I thought I was going to. But this is good value right here. So I'll just roll into my next pick. So for a tight end premium draft, we're not getting a lot of tight ends, but I took Trey McBride out of Colorado State. So I think Trey McBride only had 1 touchdown last year, something like that.
Did Colorado State score more than 1 touchdown?
He had like 90 catches and 1,000 yards, but only 1 touchdown.
The Colorado State offense is really tough to watch. It is not a fun watch.
That's being kind.
It's really wonky. I'm watching this quarterback, and I'm like, oh my God. Like I heard about a dude from Northern Iowa. Garrett Price was talking about him the other night. So Nate was like, should we check this guy out? And I'm like, oh, look at him. And I'm looking at him, and this quarterback is back there getting murdered every single play. You know what I mean? That's what it kind of reminds me of with Trey McBride. The line's not great. Quarterback's not good. Not really a good running game to speak of. However, Trey McBride, I like a lot. He got the ball in his hand. He's like a little bowling ball. Bring up my scouting card right here. Route running's pretty sharp, although I spelled sharp with a G somehow. His speed is fast, but not elite. Fairly agile for his size. Very good on screen passes. His release is pretty decent off the line, although they don't really run a ton of routes as a tight end. It's a lot of ins and whatnot. I'm using my hands a lot. He can open up the field. I know his stats don't show it. Run blocking does need a little bit of work, but that being said, overall, he's the number 1 tight end in this class. And what's not a great tight end class, there is a lot of taxi squashes, and that is my term for a taxi squad stash. Lots of taxi squashes in the later rounds and as UDFAs, which we could touch on after the draft.
Yeah, and I hadn't really dived in a lot to the tight ends in terms of watching them on film. I've done some research, just reading stuff and things like that. But yeah, Trey McBride was the one guy I would have thought about somewhere in the second round, but you took him here. from what I'm hearing, a lot of the other guys are so I haven't got to watch most of them yet, though. But my pick came up next at the 207, and I'm surprised we let this guy slip this far because I feel like he's getting some heat as the draft process goes on. George Pickens is my pick here at the 207. I did like what I saw from him pre-injury. Looking at that film, and I thought it was promising that he came back later in the year, played at the end of the year. He's got pretty decent speed. I thought his hands were really good. I thought he was pretty decent on contested catches as well, able to use his height. So George Pickens is a guy I think he has a huge ceiling, but also a very low floor. So 207 is, I think, pretty good value for him. I think he probably goes a little higher in a lot of drafts post draft, NFL draft. Any thoughts on Pickens, either of you?
Yeah, Pickens, I mean, he's definitely explosive, and if he comes all the way back from those injuries, I get it. He could be a very explosive receiver in this class. I'm really not sure what to think about him. I did like him early in his career. He had the injury. He fought hard and came back, so I appreciate that. I mean, he at least worked to get back, which is one of the things that I loved about Waddle last year, right? Is where he worked so hard to get back and basically limped around that national championship game, right? And that was just such a gutsy thing to do, considering you're going to be drafted here in the NFL and you're out there just risking it with your teammates. Like, I can respect that. So I mean, I like him enough, and definitely as a mid-second pick, let's throw that dart. Let's go get him. I mean, if he falls in the right situation, I think he can have an impact. I think there's maybe still a lot he has to learn, maybe football wise and just football IQ, I would say. Again, as just me watching wide receivers, that's the position I know. That's my analysis of it. But yeah, I mean, the guy's an athlete. He makes plays. So ultimately, mid-second, it's perfectly good spot. What are your thoughts, Mike, on Pickens?
I like Pickens. I wish he would not have went to Georgia, catching passes from Stetson Bennett.
Yeah.
So if you have Stetson Bennett in a Devy league, I'm sure you could probably just go ahead and drop him. He ain't it. I like George Pickens. He's bursty, but not really great speed overall, I don't think. Could shed defenders, fights in the red zone. Good off the line, but I wouldn't say elite release. Routes are nice. Very nice. He's a natural hands catcher with strong hands. I didn't see a lot of drops. Then again, it's not like Georgia throws the ball a lot anyway.
Right.
Pretty good in the red zone as far as contested catches. My whole thing is, and there's a clip out there, and Scott, cover your ears. It's him just shoving that Michigan defensive back to the ground.
Yeah.
His physicality is inconsistent because I see him get pushed around a lot too, but then he goes and does stuff like that. So it's like, you got to figure out what you're going to be here. You know what I mean?
Right.
So as much as I like George Pickens, I think he's a little bit inconsistent. That being said, if you would have taken George Pickens, let's say you take George Pickens from the 207 and you put him at the 110, and then you take Matt Corral and move him to the 205 and then put Desmond Ritter at the 207, I could see that happening too. You know what I mean? A lot of the mocks that we do over at Dynasty Rewind, George Pickens is a late first round, early second round guy, depending on where
picks. That's what I've seen too.
So
yeah, I considered him at 205. I mean, I definitely did. I think there's enough there, but I think he's going to have to go be well coached, figure out, the role he's going to play. And I think it's possible, right? I wouldn't rule it out. Would you be shocked if he's a contributor?
No.
Would you be shocked? No, I
Not
don't
at
think
all.
anybody would. Right. So, yeah. So with Pickens off the board, I don't know a lot about the tight end class. I'll be honest with you. I was on vacation last week. We drove down to Florida from Chicagoland with two kids under 2. So that was fun. I listened to a lot of podcasts, a lot. You can imagine. I was in the car a lot. And then I was, on the beach and whatever. I was listening to podcasts like 24/7. And so I got caught up on so many, and I got tons of rookie talk. And I feel getting all that knowledge. But honestly, nobody's talking about the tight ends. Like, where is the tight end talk? Who's talking about them? Because literally, I don't hear anything about these guys. So I didn't even consider one at this point. I'm not familiar enough with them.
We are, but we're doing it on the Patreon because like nobody cares enough. Like just our normal listeners, they don't care enough to hear about it. There's a bunch of good ones. John in the comments saying Greg Dulcich from UCLA. I love Greg Dulcich. It's Charlie Kohler, who I like a lot. There's Kate Otten out of Washington. Jeremy Rucker from Ohio State.
What happened to Wettermeyer? What happened to him?
He ran like a 4.840.
So he's just slow.
He's very slow.
Okay.
He has great hands, though. That's the thing about Jalen Weidemeyer. But I definitely moved him down my ranks. There are some guys.
What about is it Jelani Woods?
Jelani Woods.
Just a total project, or I know he's got. They're saying he's very athletic.
I could bring up my scouting card on him if you would like, Rocky, and tell you.
Sure.
But I think Jelani Woods is a guy that you're probably going to draft in like the 4th round of your rookie drafts, unless he gets crazy good draft capital, which I doubt that he will. He did finish his collegiate career at Virginia. I don't remember where I think he went to Oklahoma State before that. He's really big and he's really strong. But aside from that, he's pretty average.
Okay.
Across the board. Just looking at it, I mean, strong, good contested catch, not much after the catch. Run blocking is just okay because he's so big, he has a hard time getting leverage on smaller defenders, and they can kind of like if he had to block a guy like Brandon Graham size, who I think is only like 6'6'1", Brandon Graham, these guys in the NFL, they're going to be good enough where they can use their strong lower half and leverage.
Double nickel wreck him.
Yeah, they'll move around him because he's so big and lanky, and not a lot of production. So like, you know, our grading scale goes from 2, which is developmental, to 9, which is Hall of Famer. 8 is all pro, 7 is Pro Bowler. Like, I don't think I've ever graded anyone an 8 or 9. I've met a 4.5, which is right between backup and serviceable, and I think that's what he's going to be in the NFL.
So you didn't grade Pitts as a Hall of Famer?
Well, we just started using this.
No, it was a bump, Rocky. It was a 12.
Okay.
This off season, I started using this.
That's new. That's new. Yeah.
So, but Jelani Woods is a guy to definitely think about as well. So yeah. Oh, and Gator was saying that Weidemeyer actually ran a 5.040. So
Jesus.
There are quarterbacks.
How about there was a kid from Nevada, because I'm going to talk about his quarterback next at 208. I took Carson Strong.
Yeah.
And his tight end, I believe, Cole Turner.
Yeah, Cole Turner is like a 6'6" tight end that can't move anybody. He's 6'6", 240.
He just threw it up for him, and he got it done. He
So
did well for my college team. I know that.
I have him graded at a 4.89, so a little bit better than Jelani Woods.
All right.
He's another guy that's just not really much across the board. The only good grade I have on him is his production, but run blocking playmaking is not that great. He's more of a security blanket guy, and he's more finesse than power, which tight end in the NFL, those two don't really go hand in hand for me. You know, it's one of those things like Zach Ertz was never considered like a real powerful tight end, but he was such a good pass catcher. Cole Turner is not that. This isn't Nevada.
Right. That's
the NFC East or the AFC West is not Nevada. So you know what I mean? It's going to be just a huge discrepancy there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I took his quarterback, Carson Strong. I liked his arm, and I just liked his guts, man. I just loved that this kid, they told him not to play. His doctor told him, don't play this season. His own dad told him, don't play this season. And he played. I mean, he was on a golf cart most of the time getting around at practice. And this dude was playing on one leg. And honestly, one hit in this dude's career is probably over. So I don't know if he gets any draft capital at all. He might be a 4th, 5th. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't even get drafted. I don't know. I loved his arm. I loved his guts. And, you know, I just think the kid is like, this might be the only opportunity I get to mention him. So I just wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has a pretty strong arm, and he's getting drafted, Scott. But
hey, medical. Some people might wipe him off the board. You don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought everything else was okay except for his mobility, which was like a guy running in molasses or something like that.
Yeah, well, he had one leg. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, that has something to do with it, all the injuries and stuff. So, but everything else, when I watched him, it was just like his accuracy is okay, and his deep ball's okay, and he's okay, except he can't move, and that's about it. and his arm strength is above average.
Actually, my comp for Carson Strong is Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah.
They remind me a lot of each other. Also, John in the comments is saying Isaiah Likely, the tight end.
I like that.
One of 11 players since 18 with 2,000 yards and 25 touchdowns. So I brought up my Isaiah Likely scouting card. He's pretty solid, but there's other guys I'd probably rather take than Isaiah Likely, like Grant Calcaterra from SMU. I liked a little bit.
Ooh, yeah.
He's a bit
came from Oklahoma, right?
He did. He's a bit of a better blocker too. So he's going to get.
He's a little bit older too, I believe.
Yeah. He's like 24, I think. He was born in.
He retired, I think, because of concussion issues, and then he ended up coming back, and he went down to SMU, and he had a good year.
Yeah, he will be 24 at the end of the year. But I like him too. But my pick is John Metchi from Alabama, another guy that hurt tore his ACL. John Metchi is like some of the best release off the line for wide receivers in this class. He's so explosive off the line. It's crazy. For whatever reason, I didn't know much about John Metchi. Obviously, before I scouted him, I thought he was like a smaller, quick guy. He's pretty big. He could do everything really well. I like John Metchi a lot. And I think if he hadn't gotten hurt, he probably would get taken. I think he would have been in the back of the first round. He would probably bump Chris Olave and Jahan Dodson down into the second, I feel. Brian saying Metchi's undervalued this year. I agree. I agree with that. 100%.
Okay.
And then
Rocky, to you.
Brings it to me at the 210, and I get I'm not a huge fan of this guy, but I just had to pick him because we're at 210 and the value is kind of ridiculous to me. I'm really surprised he lasted this long because I thought more people, maybe I guess not the two people I'm drafting with though, liked him more than this. But I went with Sam Howell. I was surprised that he had made it down to the 210 for me. Like I said, I don't love him. I do like the mobility he showed last year. It is a little weird. He'd never shown it before, but I do know, that everyone knows kind of that he lost pretty much all his decent playmakers last year.
Literally everyone.
Yeah, Javante, Carter, I think Dyami Brown was there. Yeah, a whole bunch of guys. So I guess he had to run more. So it was good to see that. I felt like he was not super accurate. He wasn't awful. He wasn't like Zach Wilson level awful, but I just had to slip that in there. But I did see another thing that bothered me about him though is I didn't think he did a really good job of sensing pressure. I saw him a couple of different times when I was watching film. He would just get like smoked from the backside and had no idea it was coming, which scares me a little bit about him.
Awareness. Yeah.
So I'm not sure what to hang my hat on with him, but I know some people smarter than me like him a lot. So I don't think he's going to get first round draft capital. So I do think he's a second round pick in rookie drafts, but 210 seems a little low in my opinion. So I had to snag him here.
I agree. I think he'll be a day 2 NFL pick, and he'll go somewhere where he can sit for a couple of years, and maybe we'll see him come in for an injured player or something. Maybe he'll show us something and see if he develops. But yeah, I mean, Howell, he's a guy I have in a Devy league. So I've kind of watched him over the years, and man, I loved him last year, but then this year happened, and it was kind of like, okay, well, hey, he's making it happen out there. One way or another, he's using his legs, so whatever works, right? So he's a gamer, right? He's just one of those type of guys. But okay, so for me at 211, I just want to get this guy's name in here too, because I love this dude. He was one of my first Devy picks ever in my first Devy league.
Hashtag big Clemson wide receiver.
And team big Clemson wide receiver, baby. And I learned that from Outhouse. And at 211, I took Justin Ross. This dude played with I believe he played with a fracture in his 5th metatarsal last year. He basically was playing on one foot. Okay. He came back from that neck issue. He had surgery. He had all that. I mean, dude was listen, he was a monster. When he had a quarterback, when he was healthy, he was a stud, looked like a true first round wide receiver. And then all this stuff happened, right? He fought back. He played through the season, and then he even worked out at the combine and everything. I think he had surgery like 6 or 8 weeks before that, something like that. I mean, it was the time lapse in between was not enough to like recover and go run a 40. So the fact that he even did it, most guys would be like, well, I'm not going to do it because I'm going to run a bad time. So I just love the fact that he did it. And I think he's going to surprise people if he can truly return to health. Obviously he's cleared from the neck injury now, but once his foot's healed and he's good to go, this kid could definitely surprise. I could see him going somewhere where he gets opportunity and people are like, who is this guy, a couple years from now. We'll see if he gets the draft capital. I would guess his ceiling would be like day 2. But maybe more like a 4th round pick. He's going to be probably like my Hakeem Butler, right? It'll be the 401 and he'll go somewhere I like and I'll love him and I'll have like 25 shares and we'll, never hear from him again. So that's my prediction for Justin Ross, but I love the kid. So I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, and real quick, I just wanted to point out because John McGlynn mentioned it in the chat to point out what I was saying about Hal. 12% sack rate for Hal too. So, anyway, but with Ross, yeah, I like him as a flyer, maybe more as the 3rd. But like you said, I think he probably goes in day 3. His 21 tape did not look real good to me. He struggled to get any separation. It looked like every time he caught the ball, there was a guy like on his back. But like you said, he's coming back from the major injury from before. I didn't even realize the metatarsal thing this year as well. So I think he's a nice flyer because his tape, his pre-injury tape is fantastic. Yeah. Any thoughts on Ross or Hal, Mike? And then we'll go to the last pick.
Yeah, I'm not a big Sam Howell guy. A lot of people are comping him to Baker Mayfield, which I think is a terrible comp. Just because they look the same doesn't mean they play the same. I don't want either of them on my fantasy team. To be honest with you, I'm good.
Yeah.
As far as Justin Ross goes, listen, I love what he went through to come back. Well, I don't love that he had to go through it, but the fact that he fought back to come through that stuff. DJ Ukulele, I don't know if that's how you actually say his name, did this man no favors in 2021. And I got news for Clemson fans, both of you. Cade Klubnik, I think his name is. That's the guy you want starting at quarterback for the Clemson Tigers, not DJU. He ain't it. Sorry. To be honest with you, at this point in the draft, I'm probably not drafting Justin Ross. 3rd, 4th round, I would consider it. I do like another receiver from there, Joe Ngata. Big, physical, can actually get open and stretch the field pretty well too, which we didn't see from Justin Ross. But like Scott said, did have some problems, some health issues. So I think if Justin Ross goes to a place where he's not expected to do anything for a year or two, that's going to be beneficial for him. Yeah. Sit back, get healthy, learn whatever system you're in. I think he could actually be a good contributor. But my last pick, another Cincinnati guy, Jerome Ford, running back, Cincinnati, former Alabama player. Why couldn't he get on the field at Alabama? Well, to be a running back at Alabama, you have to be elite. I mean, look at what was ahead of him. Brian Robinson, great running back. Surprisingly not drafted here. Well, not super surprisingly. I think he's been like a 3rd round guy in most rookie picks. Najee Harris before him. So these guys are grinders. They're 3-down backs. Jerome Ford, man, he's got good 5'11". I don't have his height right in front of me. I can bring up his scouting card. I thought I did, but I didn't.
5'11", 210.
5'11", 210. You can't tell me that that's not good NFL height and weight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. You get my scouting card up here for Jerome Ford. Okay, so athletically, he does everything well. He's stocky, but yet powerful and shifty. Good size, sees holes opening well, doesn't run into his linemen. He waits for the hole to open. He's not the most powerful, but he knows when to use his power. Slippery, and he has nice stutter steps and shiftiness in the open field. Arm tackles won't bring him down. Legs are always pumping. Natural receiver that does more than screens, although they did not throw to their running backs a ton. Pass pro is about average. Natural runner, and he's dangerous with the ball in his hands. I actually have him projected as like a 2nd to 4th round pick. I have him graded pretty high as a 6.45, so that's well above a good starter. I like Jerome Ford a lot. Gator's saying unpredictable in the chat. That's fine. Look, 212. That's the place for Jerome Ford. If Jerome Ford goes somewhere where he has a chance to be a starting running back, you are not going to regret drafting him, I feel.
Gator also said in the chat, at least DJU is better than Hurts, Mike.
I don't know about that, to be honest with you. What I saw from DJU watching these Clemson guys, like, he just looked like he had no clue what was going on in the pocket at all. I don't know. I mean, we're talking, this
His
is
stock
Clemson.
is falling, yeah.
You can't play like that at Clemson. Look, they benched Spencer Rattler in Oklahoma. So, I mean, it could happen to him too. And it might. He might end up transferring. Who knows?
Okay, so I'll cap off the second round here, and we're going to stop here. We only plan to do 2 rounds because we figured, as it has, it'd probably take about an hour. We're at 105, so we'll move on to find me a trade shortly. But our second round was 201 Christian Watson, 202 Skye Moore, the third pick Rachaad White. At 4, David Bell, 205 Desmond Ritter, 206 the only tight end we took in the draft, Trey McBride. 207 George Pickens, pick 8 Carson Strong, pick 9 John Metchi, 10 Sam Howell, 211 Justin Ross, and then 212 Jerome Ford. You had kind of made a comment about being surprised that some guy we hadn't picked. One that sprung to mind when you said that is, and I'm curious your thoughts. I'm surprised none of us picked Zamir White.
Yeah, I like Zamir White. A lot of people like what's James Cook a little bit better. I've seen like those two guys kind of neck and neck in rankings and getting flip-flop backs and forth. But I like Zamir White. I like James Cook too. I wish Georgia would commit to one running back so we know who the hell
and
is
they're
what.
like the bizarro version of each other. The one catches tons of passes and doesn't run the ball very much, and Zamir White's the exact opposite.
But I think because of the way Georgia just played, it kind of bounces them out of these rounds, to be honest with you. And there's guys, and I'm just going to tell you to just be careful. Some of the guys that the NFL might like a little bit more than fantasy, guys like Brian Robinson, probably better for the NFL. Dameon Pierce, I think, is going to be a better NFL back. There's a guy, if you want a super, super deep stash, depending on where he goes, Greg Bell from San Diego State. Keontae Ingram looks like a twig standing straight up when he runs. Kennedy Brooks is the most boring running back I've ever seen in my entire life. Here's some dart throws for you guys. If you want some dart throw running backs, I'm just gonna throw some guys out I scattered that I like that I could see being something. Letty Brown from West Virginia. Nobody likes Max Borg anymore. Pierce Strong was not mentioned, but he's worth mentioning. I think he could be something. If you want a third down back, like a James White, Raheem Blackshear from Virginia Tech, Sincere McCormick from UTSA, Ty Chandler from UNC, Tyler Algier. If you want everything that Kyron Williams was supposed to be but isn't, that's Tyler Algier. Tyler Beatty, a lot of people like him. I don't, but maybe do your own research there because a lot of people like him. I prefer Tyler Goodson from Iowa. And
he was misused too.
He was. And then Zaquan Wright from South Carolina. I actually ended up liking him better than Kevin Harris. I thought Kevin Harris was super.
How many people draft him thinking it's Zamir White in their rookie drafts?
Because Sleeper just does.
Yeah, especially Sleeper.
Yep.
Sleeper. Start putting full names.
Yeah.
It's awesome when two guys.
They might be better off.
Duke and David Johnson, DJ Moore and David Moore were on the same team. We talked about this pre-show, Mike, but
so those just some dart throws I like at the running back position right there. Some guys that I'm going to try to scoop up. Hassan Haskins as well. I forgot about him.
Never fumbled in his college career, not once.
I liked Hassan Haskins a lot, man. I really did.
He's strong. He's a beast. He's like he can put the team on your back and let's go. He's not gonna cut outside and streak down the sideline. He's not gonna catch a bunch of wheel routes. He's not gonna do anything like that. But if you need 3 yards in a cloud of dust, he's your man.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay, so that finishes up our Superflex rookie mock draft. So we will go into our Find Me a Trade segment. Scott, I think I have the roster up. So do you want to get into the
Okay.
settings and then I'll pull that up while you're talking?
Let's do it. Yeah. So submitted by Kelly Poor, one of our guys at KP Poker KP on the Twitter machine. So this is a 10-team PPR Superflex, 1.25 tight end premium, 30-man rosters, start 10, with 2 running back, 2 receiver, and 2 flex there. And there's a defense as well. So it's really start 9 and then, the random one. I will tell you, thank you, Kelly. This was one of the best, giving us the information behind it. Giving us your roster is the first part. Obviously, we need that. But when you give us the backstory like you did, this really helps me now get in your league, right? Now I'm in your shoes. Now we've all been in leagues like this and we know. So we need that backstory with it. So when you guys submit those Find Me a Trades, give us that information so that now we can, kind of figure it out. So even though I didn't understand the reference at all, which you guys make fun of me for, but I don't get it. So he says, this league is my Lex Luthor.
Wait, you don't get that reference?
I don't know what a Lex Luthor is.
Please, Mike, you get that reference, correct?
Is that from Superman?
Yes.
That's all I know. That's all I got for you. So I'm like halfway there. Sorry.
Oh man, you guys are horrible. He's Superman's like arch enemy. He's
horrible.
The Joker to Batman.
If Superman's not an Avenger, I've never seen it. I'm sorry.
Do you know Batman and the Joker? Or
anything but football.
Did that reference go over your head too?
Skye, you hear this? The guy who's sitting in a room that looks like Bingo Mom decorated, it's telling us that we're horrible. You know what I mean? I guarantee
you don't know Superman.
I guarantee on that coffee table,
where
one
I'm
of those
sitting.
big 50-pound glass ashtrays. You know exactly what I'm talking about, too, right?
No doubt.
The big.
I know what you're talking about, and there's not.
Damn it! I was so close.
Yeah,
Superman's
I
pretty basic reference, though.
I'm glad Rocky got it, but it didn't mean anything to me, so that didn't help me. So wait, it's his friend, Superman's friend, Superman's guy.
His former friend became his arch enemy, I believe, or maybe he's just his arch enemy.
Okay, wait, I'm gonna.
Like I said, like do you know Batman?
It's
like the Joker to his Batman or something like that.
Batman and Joker were friends?
No, I don't think Lex Luthor was his friend. He's just his arch enemy.
This is actually confusing me even more, but I think something you said clicked because we're gonna get to it. All right. So Kelly says, this league is my Lex Luthor. It was the first dynasty I joined, made up of people from my redraft league that is going into year 9. This dynasty league is entering its 4th season. We all had no clue what we were doing in the startup draft. Somehow I managed to build an amazing roster through the draft and some timely trades. Unfortunately, I have finished second all 3 previous seasons. So 3 straight seconds is pretty brutal.
That is rough.
I mean, that's like... at least hopefully there's a payout for second place, but man, that's
3 title games, law of averages, you'd expect to win at least one.
That's wild. So I will happily sell any and all future assets just to win this league once. It has become a running joke with my league mates. Please help me get over the hump. I honestly may have too many assets. Every week I start the wrong player. That is possible. League is pretty active, so trades are definitely easy to make. The downside is I have robbed a few managers in trades, so a couple teams have started a North Korea style embargo on my offer.
He didn't specify which ones though, so hopefully we didn't pick any ones that.
Let's hope not. But it definitely. The thing is, like your team is stacked, but it's a 10-team league, so I feel like every team is stacked. So I just had to get in my 10-team dig there. There you go.
Yeah. They are all a lot of them are pretty stacked, but his is particularly stacked.
Yes, it's a great roster. You've killed it. You've done a great job.
I'll run through it real quick. Again, sleeper, it doesn't have them organized by position. We have starters and bench players, but whatever. So he has Mahomes and Stafford in his starting lineup. I'm just gonna run through the starter guys he has and then go down to the bench. Barkley and Swift as his running backs. Lamb, AJ Brown. He also has Cook and Eckler as running backs in his flexes. And then Travis Kelce on the bench here. He's got Matt Ryan, and it's his 3rd QB. Sam Darnold, who maybe starts some games. Other than that, there's mostly backup guys here. Marcus Mariota as well, who might start a few games. Kareem Hunt on his bench. Rashad Penny, Justin Jackson, Darrell Henderson, Tony Pollard, Miles Sanders. He also has, I believe, Eli Mitchell on his taxi squad. And wide receivers, bench wide receivers, Keenan Allen, Adam Thielen, Juju, Galladay, and backups behind Kelsey, Goddard, Albert O, and Gerald Everett. So yes, he's got guys all over the place. So
and 323 first.
That's right. He has no picks in 22, but yes, he has 323 first, and still has, I believe, his 23 second. So, Mike, I know you came up with some ideas here. What are you thinking with this roster?
Yeah, I don't have any specific trades to make exactly, just kind of an overall strategy. I mean, I'm looking at this roster and I'm like, what do you need my help for? What do you need our help for? I mean, the roster is really, really good. The only thing that I could say at this point is I would move on from your oft injured or secondary, your oft injured players or
100% agree.
Quarterbacks. There's actually a lot of assets here. I would trade away guys like Sam Darnold, Saquon Barkley, always hurt. Dalvin Cook, who's an injury risk, get a haul for Dalvin Cook. Then some of these quarterbacks like Marcus Mariota, Matt Ryan. You know, Mariota, we don't know how long that's going to last. I know it's a 2-year deal, but it could be a 1-year deal. He could start a couple of games, and it could be Felipe Franks season for all we know. Matt Ryan is getting older. Scott, you love the Felipe Franks reference, right? Come on, man.
All about it, baby. Let's go, Florida.
More likely a rookie, I think, than Felipe Franks.
Exactly. We got 323 first, a 23 second. I would try to get players like a Javonte Williams, Najee Harris, you know, guys like Josh Jacobs, Eli Mitchell. Wide receivers, I would like Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins. You know, players like that, guys going into their second, third year where you think that they have a really high ceiling. You know, when someone gets down on T. Higgins because they drafted Jamar Chase, when someone gets down on Jalen Waddle because they trade for Tyreek Hill, buy the guy that people are down on, buy him at a discount. I scooped T. Higgins up as many places as I could last year. People told me I was crazy. Was I? I don't think so. T. Higgins is great. Jalen Waddle, good football player. I'm not a big Jalen Waddle guy, but I think now is the time to get him if you want him. Guys like that are guys I want on the play IDP or don't play defense in Dynasty.
Oh, agreed. I just ignore defense. So
Yeah.
that's what I don't even think he even had a defense on his roster currently, which is probably a smart move. Yes.
Yeah, don't
so he realizes it too. So I'll go right into my trade because it kind of dovetails with some of what you said there, because I'm actually trading away one of the guys you said and getting one of the guys you said. So my idea was I kind of did want to, I agree with this too many assets comment. Maybe consolidate a little bit. I did a 2-for-1, maybe a 3-for-1. I think it might take. I traded Dalvin Cook and Elijah Mitchell to team J. Kirk 790 for Javonte Williams. Like I said, I don't know if that's enough for Javonte just because there is so much hype, but I am definitely buying into that hype. I love Javonte. I loved him coming out last year. I know there's still talk that Gordon might come back. I don't think he is. I think he would have been back by now if he was coming back. And if Javonte gets the bulk of the workload, unlike last year, we saw it in one game and he had like 30 points that game that Gordon was out. So I'm buying the Javonte hype. I'm willing to buy high. It's not always a great idea to buy high, but when you have all these guys you have on your team, I'm perfectly fine with it. You can afford to buy high. So if Cook and Mitchell aren't enough, I'd throw in, he has Thielen, he has Juju. I'd probably try and hold on to Keenan, but the other guy that J. Kirk 790, he's got kind of a mix of a young and old guy, so he looks like he's trying to compete. Looks like he earned the 107, so he did make the playoffs last year. And he doesn't have a lot of depth. Not that you need a ton of depth in a 10-teamer, but it would make some sense to kind of give him a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1 to try and pry Javonte away from him. And if you have to overpay, go ahead and do it. So that's my logic. Scott, any thoughts on that before we go into yours?
Yeah, I mean, we both identified the same player to trade, essentially.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy to get out on Dalvin at this point.
Yeah, you got to move I know all those running backs are productive and it's great to have them when you're trying to win, but at the end of the day, you're not winning because they're not there when you need them. And so you're going to have to move on from those guys. And, ultimately you have to do exactly what Mike said in getting the guys that their best is yet to come, right? We need to find the guy who's the next guy that's going to go wild and win you the league. Who's the next Cooper Kupp, right? Who's going to do that? And your best chance is with somebody in a great offense, one of these younger guys, these high upside, these high draft capital, you know, and so a Javonte Williams definitely fits multiple categories there. And it's just, you're going to have to consolidate. Again, making wrong decisions is going to happen when you have so many guys like that. And I will say that, like, no one loves your starting receivers more than I do. CeeDee Lamb and AJ Brown. Like, literally, you take Chase and Jefferson, and then I will take Lamb and AJ Brown, like 3 and 4. That's how high I have those guys. I love them. But they're not winning you championships right now because they don't have it yet. Now, maybe this is the year that they both do it, you know, or at least one of them. Maybe we're almost there. So I wouldn't give those guys away yet. But you're going to have to move those running backs for sure. So I like that. I'm a Javonte guy. So one thing I did not know he was a former linebacker. So apparently Javonte Williams was a former linebacker, which blows my mind and gives me hope for some of those guys that make that position.
Can I just say one thing too? You know, Kelly was saying that put the North Korean embargo on him because of the trades and everything like that. That's when you need to trade your future assets for low risk, high reward guys like your Eli Mitchell, guy come back from injury, James Robinson. You want to get guys like that on your roster. Look for some wide receivers that are of value, because if you have these oft injured guys that you can't move, they're obviously going to be in your starting lineup. Okay. So if you can't move these guys because nobody wants to do a deal with you for your big name players, look for the low risk, high reward backups that you could have on your bench, but you feel more comfortable starting than some of your bench players right now. That's how you're going to win a championship. Really, this team just needs a little bit of fine tuning, honestly. And I mean, I could see why you were contending for 3 straight years to win the championship. Hopefully you do it this year. And pick up some UDFAs. If this has fab, make sure after the rookie draft, you are on it with your UDFAs, because the draft is not over when it's over. That's when the fun really begins. That's all I got.
Okay, so I'll jump in here. I understand what you said about the trades situation, and I would guess that possibly some of the guys that are competing with you might be the guys that are less likely to trade with you. That's just kind of the vibe that I get. So what I was trying to do is look for a high-end player that was on a team that he doesn't belong. So when you find a guy who has the 104 pick and he has Justin Jefferson, there's my target. Okay. Excuse me. So I went after Justin Jefferson, and what I want to do here, I want to move on from 1-year-old running backs. I used Cook in this example, but maybe you can use Eckler. Maybe you can, depends who you're partial to. Also, because Jefferson's on the Vikings, I didn't want to double up there. So flipping over Cook because he's a Viking seemed to make sense to me. You could throw in a guy like Miles Sanders, something like that. And then your 23 first, you're going to know the league a little better than I mean, obviously I've dug into it a little bit here, but you might have a better feel for where you think those firsts are going to end up. So maybe you try to keep your likely highest one and you move the other two if you need to, but likely you're going to have to lose this trade. You're going to have to lose to get it done if guys don't like trading with you, or if you have that reputation. You're just going to have to lose some in order to figure it back out. That's how it's going to go.
And he can afford to lose the trade.
And you can, yeah, exactly. You have the assets to do it. And so that's why I added on to this trade a little bit, because it's not just about getting Justin Jefferson, but it's about to kind of restock those extra pieces that could, maybe they help you win, or maybe you can package and flip them later. So 3 pieces I had to just, again, I'm working with one roster here, so I can't go crazy, but these are guys I don't necessarily even like, but guys where I feel like if things break right, their values could increase, and then you have more assets to move as the season goes on. Especially you're going to have to get through injuries and down seasons from players you don't expect. So my overall trade here is Cook or Eckler, throw in, Miles Sanders, or throw in Juju, or one of your old, like Thielen, somebody like that. Again, rebuilding team might not take that. So go stick with the younger guys there. And those 23 firsts are your selling point to that team. Okay. And you're going to get back Justin Jefferson, Damian Harris, Dearness Johnson, and Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson might be toast. Might be. But I'll tell you what, 2 years ago, he's a top 5 route runner in this league. I watched every single play he's had listen, I've been at most of the games. I've watched this dude. He's a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL 2 years ago. Whatever happened last year was because Chicago's a terrible organization and they treated him like shit. And it made absolutely no sense. They're the ones who went out and gave him a huge contract coming off a torn ACL. And then he comes out and produces, he's their best player, and then they won't pay him. How does that even make sense? Anyway, this is a guy now you can stack with Stafford. Maybe he hits this year. Maybe all the coverages are rolling the cup and A-Rob comes out and he's just blowing people away, right? Who knows? I don't know. It's within the range of outcomes, okay? What if that happens? Now you've got that receiver you can plug in, or now you can trade him, whatever it may be. Kareem Hunt, he's going to have to go at some point. He's too expensive of a backup. Dearness Johnson can do what he does, so I feel like he's going to get that role. Damian Harris, don't like him at all, but again, he's going to get some work, and we'll see. Without McDaniels, we'll see if that changes. It's still Belichick, so probably not. But set yourself up for having those future pieces, and if these guys do nothing, you don't care. You got Justin Jefferson. That was the whole goal, right? So we're just trying to figure out a trade here that makes you better right now and still doesn't lose those assets down the line if possible.
Yeah, I like that one. I would even like you were saying about overpaying. I would even do an upgrade Sanders to Mitchell. I think Mitchell's got a lot more value. And like I say, he does have Mitchell on his taxi squad. I guess the only concern is you said this guy earned the 104. Does he want Cook? Is my only question.
You're getting 223 first, and if guys value them like they do in half of my leagues, they don't care who the other. This is one thing that really
you could always flip Cook too.
That's exactly right. People are so like, oh, I'm rebuilding. I can't take anyone over 25 years old or something. Yes, you can. If you get them cheap, your deal here is the 223 firsts and whatever other pieces you get. If you get Cook, all you have to do is then sell Cook. Okay. Yeah. And then you get yourself more pieces. And like you don't, it's like people who are rebuilding can't take anyone over 25. Like that's insane. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, if you get 223 first, Mitchell and Cook, that is an overpay for the other side of this.
That's a haul, man.
So you just do it anyway. And then you find a way to get rid of Cook if you're not trying to compete.
Exactly.
Okay. So that finishes us up. So under 145 at least, Scott.
we might get 130. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go, baby.
But I do have to. I meant to do this when we're doing the draft because
you got to get this in.
But I gotta plug that network is going to be doing a live draft show. The night one of the draft. Going to have a lot of the hosts. Me, Scott, and Andrew are all supposed to be on there. Russ, Dynasty Outhouse will be on there. I'm pretty sure Drew from Timeline is going to be on there, Casey Kasem, and we have a couple guests lined up. I know Bobby Koch is confirmed, John Hogue is confirmed, and maybe one or two more. So it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of great, smart people on there, and me. So definitely tune in. I believe we're just doing night one, but it should be a fun time. So with that, I will throw it to Mike to just give his Twitter, promote anything he wants to promote, and then we'll finish up with our stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Rewind CEO. I'm the host of the Dynasty Rewind. We are all Dynasty all the time. Please come check us out. And if not, that's fine too. Audio pod, we do YouTube. So the main pod gets broken up into different segments and released daily on our YouTube. But then we have other content too that we release on the YouTube as well. Mock Monday every Monday. I didn't come up with that, but I guess it works. We got team audits. We got all sorts of great stuff. Check out our YouTube, download our podcast. And if you want to spend a couple bucks, patreon.com/Dynasty Rewind. Got exclusive content over there as well. Scott can attest to that. So thanks again, guys, for having me on. And let's plan on, I mean, if it's okay with you guys, maybe revisit this after the draft and just see how values are changed. So I'm going to save this. I print it out, and then that way we could do it side
Perfect.
by side and compare.
Oh yeah, I
Let's
will
do
have
it.
it saved as well. Yes.
And Scott, should we let Rocky have the first pick again? What do you think?
Oh my god. I mean, if
we can let you have the first pick, Mike. Jeez,
we
stop
should
whining about it.
We should probably keep it the same just because,
okay.
how we draft
All
differently.
right, that's fair. That's fair.
I just got to break your balls, Rocky. That's all.
I know you do. But let me just finish up by reminding everyone to follow the show at Dynasty Junkies. You can follow the individual host at Dynasty FF Addict, at Scott_Sidlow, and our third host who's not here tonight at Andrew Hall FF. Follow the DAP network at DAP_network. That way you can see when we go live, you see what timeline goes live, and you'll see when that draft show goes live. Definitely make sure you're subscribing on YouTube to the DAP network as well to see all that stuff. And definitely, I mentioned it a couple weeks ago. We did get one review since I pointed out that we were not getting reviews, but I want more. 1 in 2 weeks is not enough, which is the last time.
Hey, we're gonna bump up your FMAT submissions if you do reviews. That's the reward. We're gonna bribe you for reviews. Let's go.
We want reviews, so give us a follow, subscribe, a rating, and review. And I think that's about it. That will do it for this week. We should be back next Thursday, so see everybody then. Thanks. Bye. Oh, Scott, I didn't have you take us out.
Okay, let's do it. To all the homies in the comments, to Kelly Poor, to my man, Michael Bauer, my brother, thank you for being here. For Rocky Petrella, I'm Scott Sidlow. Junkies out.